Hey everyone! Okay, so this is my first attempt at making a tutorial video. I'm going to try to show you how to do a Photoshop GIF, or you combine several photos of a sequence and something illustrated. You don't have to get really complex with it. Maybe you just have like you have 5 photos of somebody running, and then you add in little cartoon style lines after them that make it look speedy or cartoon like. You could have 5 pictures of somebody jumping in the water and then make it look like it's splashing green or something around them. So it's just a way to play with mixing animation and photographs. So let's get started here. Alright, so we're going to start in Illustrator, and you're going to go File, New. This is just for the animation portion of it. If you want it to be a sort of complex drawing, you could also set this up in Photoshop. If you're just drawing like a line per frame or something, you would just add layers and do it there. But I just want to show this initially for those of you that want to try a little bit more complex of a drawing. So I usually try to just make an artboard that's kind of square. So I was fumbling here trying to figure out how to do that, but once you start to change it in the width box, it'll automatically change it to custom for you. See there? And then you can change both of them by themselves. Okay, so hit OK, and then you're going to end up with one artboard. So working in Illustrator, you have layers, and you can draw different things on each layer just like you can in Photoshop, and you can move them independently of each other. Your tools over here, I like to use this pen tool to get started. You can also use the paintbrush tool. So I'm just going to draw a simple kind of superhero blob ghost thing to get started. So I'm just defining a path, and then I'll fill it in with a color. Okay, so just for the sake of showing you some other tools, I'm going to use the paintbrush to draw a little face. Well, I had to change my stroke color to black, or a different color, obviously. Kind of looks like a little apple. Alright, so I'm going to just forward ahead here to where I have a sort of finished character. Okay, so as you can see, if you have the white arrow tool selected, then you can select individual points and move them around to change subtleties about the shape of your object. Okay, so I think that'll work for now. And now I'm going to add artboards. So I'm going to zoom out a little bit. That is Command minus to get your artboard smaller. You're going to click the little square over here with the 4 lines, or the corners coming out. And then if you hold down Option, I'm going to make this guy a little bigger first. Now with the artboard selected, if I hold down Option and click and drag, I'm going to duplicate the artboard. So then I can make subtle changes to the guy for my second frame of the animation. Just going to raise one arm, lower the other, just try to make some subtle changes. You can play around with this. That's basically the idea of this whole assignment, is to just experiment a little bit in Illustrator with a little bit more of digital imaging. So I'm just going to move his facial features over and make the head a little smaller, maybe try to just slightly go with the illusion of turning the head. Now I'm going to duplicate the artboard again. Remember, that's Option, click, and then drag it over. Now I'm going to do it one more time. So for the sake of this tutorial, I'm just going to stick with this, but I just want to show you over here by the layers you have artboards. I'm going to rename them so that it's easy to tell which is which. Because right now it's a little bit confusing, artboard 1 copy and so forth. So I'll just name the artboard 2, actually I'll name them flyer 1 through 4, just for ease of finding the files. I think this is an accidental, so I've accidentally added an artboard onto artboard 4. I'm just going to delete that. Okay, so now I've got 4 different artboards, and we're going to export this. So we'll go File, Export, Export As. And then you can see down here at the bottom it says Use Artboards. So that's what we want to do. We want to choose exactly where it's going to go. And I'm going to put it in the same folder as I'm working with for the rest of this project. And we're going to hit export. I'm going to change the quality a little bit. So you can see I've done this in a more complicated way. I've got several layers on each of these, and I've moved individual components of the animation. The arm, the head comes down, and the cheeks turn red. So you can get a lot more complicated with it, moving around the individual elements inside of Illustrator, but you don't necessarily need to for this assignment unless you're interested in learning about that. Now you can also see that I did not do a great job of labeling these. So it ended up being a little bit confusing when I got into Photoshop because the artboards are not in the right order. So I had to do a lot of messing around to get them back into the right order, just visually trying to decide which they were supposed to be in. So it's a really good idea to number your artboards before you export out of Illustrator. I'm just going to show you real quick. If you go to the folder that I saved them in, it saved them as 4 different PNG files. These are really subtly different. You might not even be able to tell, but we're going to just go with it.